Welcome to the 2025 Robert F. Kennedy Book and Journalism Awards. We will begin shortly. This ceremony and all of the important programs at RFK Human Rights rely on donations from generous friends. So we would like to express our thanks to Mort Zuckerman and the Zuckerman Family Foundation for their gift, which makes this ceremony possible. If you enjoyed this presentation and would like to see more content from RFK programs, please consider supporting our efforts.
Scan the QR code on your screen to donate.
Our program will begin shortly.
Welcome to the Robert Francis Kennedy Book and Journalism Awards. We are meeting at a time, obviously, that would have made, in many ways, Robert Kennedy shudder. A time of an obscene war against Ukraine, of rising injustice in our own country, rising hatred, and even the question whether American democracy is going to survive. We wish we had Robert Kennedy leading us and fighting with us as we fight for democracy, but in his absence, we have his memory and we have his values adopted by those who write about the problems we're dealing with now and those who are fighting to preserve the democratic ideals that come from the 18th century. In his absence, we recognize books and journalism that help to carry that torch forward, and that's what brings us together. We are lucky to have Robert Kennedy's daughter, Kerry Kennedy, our friend and the world's friend, author, attorney, activist, and president of Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights. Kerry?
Thank you, Michael. I'd also like to extend my gratitude to our extraordinary volunteer judges. They are journalists and authors who dedicate their time and energy to making this ceremony possible. To Lynn Delaney and our staff here at RFK Human Rights, thank you for your dedication. And to you, our audience, thank you for being here today as we celebrate our Book and Journalism Award winners. In 1961, my father stood before a group of newspaper editors and spoke about the value of journalism. He said, "No one needs to tell me about the importance of a free press in a democratic society." He may not have needed a reminder, but the current administration certainly does. In every corner of the world where democracy is under siege, the first target is always the free press. And in America, the Trump administration has made that playbook its own. From calling journalists the enemy of the people to encouraging violence at rallies, Donald Trump turns truth-tellers into targets. He retaliated against the Associated Press, dismantled Voice of America, and threatens to defund National Public Radio and PBS. His White House relentlessly spreads disinformation, discredits reporters, and labels facts as fake news, corroding public trust in journalism. He celebrated the man who assaulted a journalist as my kind of guy, sending a chilling signal to authoritarians worldwide. Under his watch, press credentials are revoked, questions stonewalled, and government transparency is shredded. The Trump administration threatened to sue media outlets for unfavorable coverage, weaponizing the law to intimidate and silence. He praised regimes that jail and kill journalists while attacking American correspondents doing their job with courage. This is not just a war on the media, it is a war on accountability, on truth, and on democracy itself. When a president attacks the press, he invites tyranny through the front door. We must stand up, loudly, clearly, and without compromise for the right to report, to dissent, and to speak our truth to power. But we know that no number of executive orders or funding cuts will silence the brave women and men who bring us the facts. Journalists have a higher calling, the pursuit of truth. And as we see from the bold and fearless reporting honored here today, that pursuit cannot be stopped by any political leader or movement. At RFK Human Rights, we don't just support a free press, we defend it. Our international advocacy and litigation team is actively suing on behalf of 9 journalists across Africa and Latin America whose rights have been violated. We will not back down. The Journalism Awards were founded in 1969 by the press corps who covered my father's presidential campaign. Our book awards were founded by Arthur Schlesinger in 1980. The journalists, authors, photographers, and producers who submit their work for awards consideration year after year are truly inspirational. Their work brings light to stories that might otherwise go untold, stories with real, often critical consequences, and compels us to care about immigrants and asylum seekers who are abused in ICE facilities, to care about families torn apart by police violence, to care about political activists detained in Russian jails and children in Haiti subjected to gang violence. These stories are more than headlines. They represent mothers, fathers, children, neighbors, families, and communities whose lives extend far beyond the page or screen. By telling stories and capturing moments, journalists inform us about the world, and they offer us a solution to despair, education, and engagement. They remind us that empathy is often the first step toward action, and that the difference between a hero and a victim is activism with a loving heart. Today, we honor their gift. To the journalists, authors, photographers, and producers, thank you. Thank you for pressing on in the face of opposition. Thank you for your unwavering commitment to the public good. We celebrate you. We congratulate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kerry. Now, I'd like to welcome longtime journalist and television production entrepreneur Soledad O'Brien to share some of her thoughts on the current state of journalism today.
I want to congratulate and salute all the winners of the Robert F. Kennedy Book and Journalism Awards. These are extraordinarily challenging times for journalists, with cuts and layoffs affecting major national and international outlets, as well as many local newspapers and stations that are vital to communities across the country. When you open the aperture further, you'll see an even more disturbing trend. 1 in 10 editors and reporters have been given pink slips in the last 3 years, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So many authors' works are being removed from schools and university shelves, disappeared from public institutions, and added to banned book lists. We have a president who sues journalists, who attacks them on social media, and whose administration wants to dictate what Americans can and cannot read. It's easy to feel discouraged. The RFK Book and Journalism Awards remind us that voices are being heard, stories we tell are important, and that truth matters, and so does the recognition these awards provide. During these difficult days, we can take solace from the words of the man for whom these awards are named. Senator Kennedy had what we all need now, the courage to act. More than half a century later, his words from 1966 still resonate today. Each time a man stands for an ideal or acts to improve the lot of others or strikes out against injustice, he sends forth a tiny ripple of hope, and crossing each other from a million different centers of energy and daring those ripples build a current which can sweep the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance. To my fellow journalists, take this as a clarion call to action as you accept your award. You all are sending forth those ripples with your work. And that's why we're here today, to celebrate your commitment to calling out injustice and striving to improve the lives of others. Throughout America's most challenging moments, journalism has endured and prevailed. Edward R. Murrow said, "A nation of sheep will beget a government of wolves. No one can terrorize a whole nation unless we are all accomplices." And difficulty is the excuse history never accepts. These are difficult times, a time when history calls for the courage of brave authors and journalists. Congratulations and thank you for continuing the crucial work that will shape the future.
To announce the 2025 RFK Journalism winners, Please welcome RFK Journalism Award Committee Chair, Margaret Angel.
Today we honor journalism that reflects the ideals that shaped Senator Robert F. Kennedy's life and his campaign for president in 1968. The late senator's focused on issues like poverty and racial inequality. In one address, he said, "There are millions living in the hidden places whose names and faces are completely unknown. I have seen these other Americans." The journalists we salute today also see them and report on them. Let's begin our awards ceremony with domestic TV winner Dan Slepian. He found men trapped in those hidden places.
One man is dead and another injured after a shooting at a Manhattan hotspot. It happened early this morning at the Palladium.
Marcus Peterson, a bouncer, was shot and killed. Another bouncer was wounded. Witnesses identified a couple of guys, David Lemus and Omado Hidalgo. They were arrested, tried, and convicted for the murder of Marcus Peterson. But they convicted the wrong guys.
Armed with the knowledge that wrong men are behind bars, journalist Dan Slepian sets out to tell their stories. As a young, idealistic reporter, he had no idea how long and painful his journalistic journey would be. Slepian soon learned of other men wrongly convicted. In this powerful documentary series, one by one, each are released because of his dogged reporting, which uncovers new evidence.
Mr. Lemus, your motion to vacate your convictions of murder and attempted murder based on newly discovered evidence is granted.
Powerful series also explores the trauma inflicted on families of those serving time. For Slepian, this project became his passion.
20 years. This has been 20 years of Clinton.
And he couldn't rest until every inmate was freed.
Ready to go home, brother? I'm taking you home. I'm taking you home, man.
This year's winner for domestic television is Dan Slepian for the Sing Sing Chronicles for NBC News Studios and Trilogy Films.
Our domestic print winner tells the heartbreaking stories of patients who fell victim to the ongoing financial problems of the Steward healthcare system. This powerful investigative series shows how the looting of this global healthcare system has led to a loss of life-saving care.
The Boston Globe tells the story of Sangeeta Rashid. She fell victim to the healthcare executives who prioritize profits over patients. She's pictured here after giving birth to her daughter. She would die shortly after the photo was taken from a treatable condition because Steward failed to pay a vendor for the common medical device that should have been used to treat her postpartum bleed. The little girl is now growing up without a mother. The Globe uncovered a number of patients who died due to staffing or equipment shortcomings in an environment where profit seemed more important than patients. Our domestic print winners are the Boston Globe Spotlight reporting team with contributions from the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project for their sweeping Steward healthcare investigation.
Now it's time to recognize excellence in reporting on incarceration and criminalization. Our winning entry introduces us to Russell Mays, a Tennessee father tried for murder in 2004 following the death of his newborn son. The issue? He's convicted because of a largely debunked diagnosis, shaken baby syndrome. Like Mays, the diagnosis has led to a string of wrongful convictions across the country. Our winning entry in the reporting on incarceration and criminalization goes to Pamela Coliff, ProPublica, and the New York Times Magazine for the entry, How a Largely Debunked Diagnosis Keeps Innocent Parents in Prison. When anti-Asian hate crimes were on the rise in the U.S., our radio winner decided to focus on how these chilling events can leave a lasting imprint, rippling through generations. Emily Guang used the past to look at the present she examined the long-term, multi-generational effects of war, traumatic events, and racism on the Asian American and Pacific Islander communities. The result is our radio winning entry, Inheriting. Congratulations to Emily Huang and the LAist team for this compelling podcast series. Our international print winner examines the issue of adoptions in South Korea. It's a disturbing history featuring cases of stolen children, fabricated documents, and possible human rights violations. The work was spearheaded by Kim Tong Hwang of the Associated Press. Children in the United States are witnessing a steady increase in censorship. There were thousands of instances of book bans in U.S. public schools in the last school year. Our high school winner, Mariam Zahra, looks at another chilling form of censorship. Her piece is High School Journalists Are Fighting Back Against Censorship. Congratulations to Mariam from the Young Women's STEAM Research and Preparatory Academy in El Paso, Texas, for this story featured in PRISM Reports. Our 2025 College Journalism Award goes to Arizona State University. 3 Native American students spearheaded the team behind the series Failure to Comply. Their reporting demonstrated how the university is one of the largest holders of indigenous remains and artifacts in the state of Arizona. Freedom of Information requests showed that the university is also a poor steward when it comes to caring for these treasures. In addition, the university is slow in returning them to their rightful tribal owners. The winner of this year's College Journalism Award is the team from the Howard Center for Investigative Journalism, which is part of the Cronkite School of Journalism at Arizona State University. Our international television winner shares with us firsthand accounts from ordinary Israelis and Palestinians grappling with a year of unprecedented violence.
This young man still wears his wristband from that fateful October 7th day. He was at the Nova Festival when music was silenced by missiles. He took refuge under the stage.
ואז איזה מישהו מלאך פשוט, לא יודע מה, רץ וצורח לנו צורה במה. ואני מסתכל אחורה ואני רואה אותם, כאילו עומדים באיזה אישור קו כזה, כמו מטווח ברווזים בצבא פשוט. יורים ללא הרף, הם עומדים ועושים...
Miraculously, he survived that day. A year of war between Israelis and Palestinians is a devastating portrait of life before and after October 7th.
احنا انخلقنا في حالة حرب. هيك احنا كمواطن غزاوي انت بتنخلق في غزة فانت في حالة حرب على مدار الحياة. كان في حصار، كان في قصف، كان في موت.
We meet one of the youngest hostages. Itan was happy and full of life when he was taken. He's released after 52 days of captivity. He returns to his mother, but much of his childhood innocence is gone.
ב-16 הימים הראשונים הייתי לבד. אנשים שאני מכיר או אנשים שאני יכול לפנות אליהם. כאילו פחד. הרגשתי פחד.
Fear is an emotion shared by civilians on both sides of this conflict as they're trapped in an endless cycle of bloodshed and misery.
بعيش اليوم ما بستنى حتى بكرة. مش ضامنة إيش رح يصير معي بكرة. أنا بس بعيش اليوم. ما في مستقبل أساساً.
This year's winner for international television is the team at Frontline PBS for A Year of War, Israelis and Palestinians.
Our non-traditional media winner focuses on America's unique obsession with guns. In the U.S., there are more guns than people. There are 400 million firearms and more federally licensed gun dealers in the country than all of the McDonald's, Burger King's, Taco Bell's, and Starbucks combined. Our congratulations to John Patrick Pullen, Garrett Graff, and Jennifer Masia for the limited series Long Shadow, In Guns We Trust, produced by Long Lead and Campside Media and distributed by PRX. Our cartoon winner is the child of Mexican immigrants, so he brings sharp insights into the inequities that immigrants, women, and minorities face, magnifying issues that hit close to home. Here's a sampling.
Cartoonist Lalo Alcaraz with this panel trains his sights on Latinos voting against their own self-interest. As a child of Mexican immigrants, the issues he takes personally often end up as subject matter. His portfolio takes aim at Project 2025, the usual for dummies instructional reference books now transformed into Fascism for Dummies. Following the presidential debate, he published El Pucho Loco after Trump famously accused people in Ohio of eating the dogs. In Undocumented versus Trump, his cartoon provides a fact sheet on crime, pushing back against unfair narratives about immigrants and reminding readers of Trump's own history in the courts. As Christmas approached, on December 24th, he published Silent Night Bus, reimagining the manger scene in a post-Trump presidency. This year's cartoon winner is Lalo Alcaraz for his body of work published by Andrews McMeel Syndication, Cowl News.
Now it's time to announce this year's John Sigenthaler Prize. Here's my friend, John Sigenthaler Jr.
Thanks, Peggy. This award is named in honor of my father, John Sigenthaler, a close friend and colleague of Robert Kennedy. For decades, my father was active in these awards and co-chaired the RFK Book Prize Committee. In the 1960s, working in the Justice Department for Attorney General Robert Kennedy, Dad was sent to Alabama during the Freedom Rides and was savagely beaten by a racist mob as he tried to help protect the Freedom Riders. He was also a courageous journalist. As a reporter, editor, and publisher, he spent much of his life defending the First Amendment. This award recognizes journalism created under difficult circumstances that requires courage. Our Sigenthaler Courage in Journalism Award this year goes to our international photography winner who invites us to see the war in Gaza through the eyes of innocent children. With his camera, Associated Press photojournalist Abdel Karim Hanna bears witness to children of Gaza, surrounded by war.
Imagine a child living in this world. These are the children of Gaza. They endure a painful litany of funerals, the anguish so overpowering they close their eyes, hoping it will all go away. But the reality is, it isn't going away. In Gaza, children walk through rubble where there once was a school before it was leveled by an Israeli airstrike. This war has claimed more than 13,000 children. As one UN official said, they did not choose this war, but many here have paid with their lives. A mother hoists a dress once worn by her 4-year-old daughter, Layla. The 4-year-old will never wear it again. She, along with 3 siblings, were killed in an airstrike on Han Yunis. The children often struggle to reach for food, like this girl outside a distribution center. Over and over again, Abdul Karim Hanna of the Associated Press points his camera at the inescapable pain and desperation that defines a childhood in Gaza. These children are too young to understand war. They are trapped here, and they are virtually drowning in a sea of misery.
Our Sigenthaler Courage in Journalism Award this year goes to our international photography winner, Associated Press photojournalist Abdel Karim Hanna for Children of Gaza, surrounded by war. Now, let's hear from our Sigenthaler Courage in Journalism Award winner, Abdel Karim Hanna.
مرحبا، اسمي عبد الكريم هنا، أعمل مع وكالة أسوشيتد بريس. بدأت تغطية الحرب في 7 من أكتوبر وما زلت أواصل عملي حتى اليوم. يعد حصولي على هذه الجائزة محطة هامة في مسيرتي المهنية التي سعيت من خلالها إلى نقل العديد من الحقائق من غزة. أشكر مؤسسة RFK على هذا التقدير وأعدكم بأن أواصل هذا العمل بكل مهنية وشغف.
Congratulations, Abdel. Now let's send it back to Peggy for the announcement of this year's Grand Prize winner.
Before we announce this year's Grand Prize winner, we'd like to thank the dozens of journalists who volunteer their time to read, watch, and listen to every entry. We also want to recognize the 2025 Journalism Committee. I'm honored to chair the committee, and I'm joined by John Sigenthaler Jr., along with Jennifer Lee and Roberta Baskin. Rounding out the committee is Kimberly Adams, Raphael Lorient, Cheryl Gould, and Terrence Samuel. This year's entries were extraordinary, so this was a difficult decision. The grand prize goes to photojournalist Stacy Kranitz for her extraordinary visual essay, The Year After a Denied Abortion.
It seems like the deck has always been stacked against Mayron Michelle Hollis. She was first introduced to drugs at the age of 12 and has struggled with sobriety. She works a 10-hour shift in a manual labor job. She's existing just above the poverty line. That means tough choices, just enough money to buy a Christmas tree, but not enough to fix a window. Torn plastic sheeting and duct tape are left to feebly fight to keep out the cold air. Tough choices are a way of life. She was 3 years sober when she had Zoe and learned she was pregnant again. Doctors warned her that it was a potentially life-threatening pregnancy. In another time, Hollis would have made another tough choice to end the pregnancy. The embryo had implanted in scar tissue from her recent cesarean section. Doctors weren't sure the fetus would survive. It could also rupture, leading to fears she might bleed to death during delivery. But because of the Dobbs decision overturning Roe v. Wade, Hollis wasn't given a choice. Tennessee has one of the most restrictive abortion bans in the country, forbidding abortion but providing little support once a baby is born. Her daughter, Elena, is born 3 months early, weighing just under 2 pounds and fighting to breathe. This immersive photo essay follows Mayron and her husband Chris on their difficult journey for a year after the denial of the abortion. This unflinching visual portrait shows the real-life impacts of these restrictive abortion bans. It's also an illustration of the demands on the medical profession to withhold what they consider medically necessary care. ProPublica documents it all with photographs that show a family trying to care for a toddler and medically complex infant with virtually no resources as their lives slowly spiral out of control.
Congratulations go to Stacy Kranitz for winning this year's Grand Prize Award and the Domestic Photography Award for her ProPublica photo essay, The Year After a Denied Abortion.
Now let's hear from the 2025 Grand Prize winner, Stacy Kranitz.
My home state of Tennessee bans abortion in nearly all circumstances. But once the babies are here, the state provides little help. To chronicle what life truly looks like in a state where political leaders say they are pro-life, I followed one woman after she was denied an abortion for a life-threatening pregnancy. The resulting photographs show how one family's personal lived experience reveals many of the gaps in the social safety net in a post-Roe state. At 26 weeks, Mayron began to bleed heavily and was rushed to the hospital. Her daughter, Elena, was born weighing less than 2 pounds and unable to breathe on her own. Mayron lost her uterus in the surgery that saved her life. The next year would show the consequences of choices made by Tennessee state lawmakers who have banned abortion without also investing in the safety net to support those families once the babies are born. I am honored to receive the award for my work from Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights. I am grateful that ProPublica provided the resources to tell this story with the nuance and depth that it deserves.
Now it's time to turn it back to Michael Beschloss, so we can learn about this year's book award winner.
We want to thank all of our winning journalists. We celebrate you, we need you, we honor you, we support everything you do to speak truth to power at a time in America when it was never more essential. Again, huge congratulations. And now it's time for our book award. Before we introduce our winners, I would like to acknowledge the late Arthur Schlesinger Jr. As you know, Arthur wrote the wonderful book, Robert Kennedy and His Times, which came out in 1978, and he used some of the proceeds from the sale of that book to finance this book award, which has gone on ever since. Before we introduce our winner, I'd like to thank my fellow judges, world class as usual, Ted Widmer. Annette Gordon-Reed, and Randall Kennedy. Once again, this year, we had several remarkable books to consider, which made our job all the more difficult.
This year's 2025 RFK Book Award winner is Jonathan Blitzer for his brilliant and timely book titled Everyone Who Is Gone Is Here. Here's Jonathan.
I'm so honored to receive this year's Robert F. Kennedy Book Award. I am and always will be in a state of genuine awe when I look at the past winners of this award. Historians, sociologists, journalists, novelists, lawyers of the highest caliber who bring the sharpest skills of their craft together with a complete and thoroughgoing moral vision. The issue I write about, immigration, has to be among the most misunderstood in American public and political life. Too often, lawmakers think about the lives of immigrants and asylum seekers as ones that begin once they reach the United States, a story that begins at the U.S.-Mexico border. The reality, of course, is that to understand American immigration policy, one has to try to grasp it on the biggest possible stage. It is about nothing less than the U.S.'s role in the world, the consequences of our foreign policy, our understanding of the countries beyond our borders, and the deep, multifaceted lives of those who have done the most daunting thing a person can do, to leave home. What may stir me the most strongly doing this work is that you have all of these big, lofty questions that suggest complex, grandiose answers. The truth is that the answers I've found are much closer to the ground. We must start with people, to meet them where they are, to learn from them, to build around their experience. 30 years ago, the journalist Raymond Bonner won the Robert F. Kennedy Book Award for his landmark work of reporting Weakness and Deceit, an expose of the rampant human rights abuses committed by a right-wing military regime in El Salvador, a regime that was supported, financed, and advised by the U.S. government. In some ways, my book attempts to pick up where his left off, dealing with the legacy of that U.S. war effort. Once the Cold War ended, we replaced one misguided orthodoxy with another. A fear of the spread of communism was supplanted by a fear of the spread of people. We are now stuck in this loop. As a journalist, following the lead of Bonner and so many other recipients of this very award, I am determined not to look away. There's so much more work to be done.
Thank you again, Jonathan, for your words and for your remarkable book, Everyone Who Is Gone Is Here. And once again, congratulations. Now let's turn it back over to Michael.
So that brings our RFK Book and Journalism Awards ceremony to a close. All I can say is I hope that we will be together again a year from now, and I hope that we will be doing it in a democracy guided by the light of Robert Francis Kennedy. I'd like to remind you that if anyone wants more information on these awards and the winners, please go to rfkhumanrights.org. rfkhumanrights.org. Everyone, please be safe. Please stay healthy. Thanks so much for watching and being with us. Thanks, everyone, for joining us.
Thanks again for joining us today. If you enjoyed the ceremony and appreciate all of the important programs at RFK Human Rights, we'd like to remind you that our efforts rely on donations from generous friends. So we want to express our thanks to Mort Zuckerman and the Zuckerman Family Foundation for their gift, which makes this program possible. If you want to show your support, please consider giving a generous donation.
Scan the QR code on your screen to donate.
Once again, thanks for joining us for the 2025 Robert F. Kennedy Book and Journalism Awards.